said, this is just basically getting getting all the joints warmed up and getting them through full range of motion, particularly working on the shoulders, the hips, ankles and knees, getting them working properly. So we're going to start off with shoulder circles. So Mary's going to do some
full arms.
Yeah, full arms shoulder circles.
We've all done them.
So what we're looking for, and if you can turn to the side so people can see from the side. So remember we were talking in the fascial adhesion part, we're talking about that thoracic spine, opening up the thoracic spine. So this is what we're really trying to do here. Every time she comes back, that thoracic spine opens up. The chest opens up as well. So you're going to do about 10 of those in one direction and then 10 in the other. So every time you come back, you're squeezing the shoulder blades back and down. Most people are dominant in the upper trap, so we get them to focus here on squeezing the lower trap, getting the lower trap going.
Yeah, that was good cueing because I felt the upper traps.
So we do about 10 of those in each direction, then you can face the camera again, Mary.
Okay.
And now we're going to do some hip rotations with the shoulders just rotating from one side to the other. Yeah, good. So what we're looking at here, it looks like it's a big upper body twist, but really it's about those hips moving from one side to the other. You'll see she switches her weight from one side to the other, and her hips move, and her toes move. 99% of rotational issues, people that have problems with their spine, is because they show them without hip rotations, Mary. So it's the same movement, but without, yeah.
Really hard on the lower back and the lumbar spine because it's rotation and compression. So that's why it's really important that you open up through the hip. And also, I mean, that goes with just daily life as well, right?
So this does two things. It opens up the hips and gets them warmed up in that position, but also teaches the idea that if you're going to turn around like this, you better let your hips move. You better not try to do that without letting the hips.
So baseball, for example, right? If you're about to hit a ball, same thing. If you just keep yourself in a fixed position, there's a lot of, I can feel that, a lot of rotation and compression on the spine as opposed to moving your feet.
And never mind, as we all know, that's how that's where your power comes from.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So from there, we're going to go to some side lunges. So the trick here with the side lunges, we're just trying to stretch the inside of the leg here. We're also trying to activate that glute on the opposite side.
How long do you want me to hold?
Just about 2 or 3 seconds in each position. So it's not a long hold, just kind of. You want to think, in this one, your feet should be pointing almost straight ahead. Mary's right foot's dragging out a little bit there. And you want to think about placing this hip right in behind that heel that it's shifting towards. Trying to keep the chest fairly high, although you will be leaning forward, as Mary's leaning forward there.
But what he's saying is not bent over into this position, right?
And most importantly, try curling your spine or flexing your spine while you're doing, which is a lot of people will do. So just, so you don't want to be flexed in that position. You want to keep your back extended, nice and tight through that back. Maybe just do a few just from the side so they can see. See how that back is nice and tight there? Just flex it. So we don't want that. We want this. Good. And now we're going to go from there to an inchworm. Mary's going to do. Now, inchworms, if you've got a lot of space, it's great. You can just walk them out to the front and keep walking through them. Or, as in, we're a little more confined here, so I'm going to get Mary to do the inchworm with a little push up at the bottom. Good. And then walk your hands back here. Good. And a couple more like that. We'll do about 5 or 6 like that. So as you're coming back here, you're feeling a stretch through the hamstrings.
Right now.
Good. And coming back to the standing position.
Keep going.
A couple more of those. Yeah. And one more is good.
And again, you can modify these. Not everyone's going to be able to do that push up at the end.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. We're going to go from there to a leg swing. Just hold on to that for your leg swing. Maybe do it sideways so they can see what's going on. So what we're doing here is we're stretching the hamstring on the way forward, and we're engaging the glute on the way back. So it's a nice, easy swing. There's some confusion out there about the difference between a dynamic warm-up and a ballistic warm-up. Do you want to show them a few ballistic leg swings?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Just driving as hard as you can.
Oh, okay.
So we don't want that, where you're trying to pull the muscle out, almost going to pull the muscle out of his joint. It's just a nice, easy swing into whatever your range of motion is. I'll just do a few more like that.
So for me, I mean, I can feel like that's my hamstring on the way up. And also you just notice sort of my heel position and my toe position. You want to talk about that a little bit, but ideally, again, toe pointed forward through the movement. So you're not rotated out.
Yeah, you're trying to keep your hip nicely lined up and your foot nicely lined up. And very important, most people when they're doing that, they forget about that glute squeeze on the other side.
Right.
As
I'm coming back, it's the glute that's now being activated to swing that leg back.
Also, just something to key on, the upper body stays pretty straight. Just show them what, like a lot of people will do, they'll bend forward and back as they swing. So they'll do that. So we don't want that. We want the back body to stay nice and stable. Excellent. Good. Good. Next thing we're going to do, we'll go down, we'll grab a mat. We're just going to do some thoracic slides, arm slides.
Okay. Yeah.
Here's going to lie on her back. Arms out to the sides. What we're looking for here is that forearm is going to stay in contact with the ground, and she's going to press her lower back into the mat. And now she's just going to bring her arms this way a little bit, and then bring it back.
So right now, I mean, I'm trying to focus on having all of my vertebrae touching the mat underneath me, which means I'm using a little bit of abdominal muscles. And I can feel this right now through the backs of my arms, and as well, again, through my mid-spine, that thoracic spine.
That's good. And then we'll do some glute bridges. So with the glute bridge, you're going to be pushing your heels into the ground, lifting your hips up, squeezing your glutes, squeezing your bum muscles, hold for a couple of seconds, and then back down to the ground. Important for the heels to be very close to the butt. Bring your feet out a little bit so that they can see the difference.
Start out here?
Yeah, if you try to do them there, it's going to be almost all hamstring in the back of the leg here. Right?
Yep.
Feel that more in your hamstring. So
bring
the heels in close to the butt will activate the glute more.
So why do they want to activate the glute?
Because the glute is the biggest muscle in the body, most powerful muscle in the body, and also the most frequently inactive muscle in the body. Particularly, again, for people that sit a lot, for people with tight hip flexors, the glute is very important. One of the things about the dynamic warm-up is we're trying to move those joints through a full range of motion, but the other objective of it, which I had forgotten to mention earlier, is you're trying to activate the muscles that you're going to be relying on to do your workout.
So it's like waking them up. It's like saying, okay, glutes, you're gonna start doing some work, right?
That's right.
Before we squat, before we lunge.
So we're activating the glutes. We've activated a bunch of muscles through the shoulders that might be a little bit dormant because they want to be hunched over like that. So we've activated all those muscles through the back and shoulders. And then for the last one, we're going to do a little activation. We're going to do just a little one leg at a time, leg lowering. So bring your knees up to your chest. Good. Now again, you're going to push your lower back into the mat.
Yeah.
One leg stays up high, the other leg slowly goes out and comes back. And the trick is don't let that lower back lift off. And this is a big exercise for the muscles in the inside of the core, transverse abdominis, and a couple of the other smaller muscles down in through there. So this one is really good for waking that up. And a lot of people aren't very good at this. They can't keep that lumbar spine from lifting up as soon as they lift their legs. There's just a little activation for it.
Good?
That's good. Good. That's good. And that's the warm-up.